Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is the second movie in the Indiana Jones franchise. Now, we are doing a retrospective slash first viewing for me, because I've been living under a rock. I've just watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, so you can check that review out now, see what my first initial thoughts are on that movie. But just in a nutshell, really enjoyed it. Now I'm just like, where have I been all these years? We don't know. So we've moved on to the second one here, the sequel. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What did you guys think of the sequel? Smash that like button, click subscribe, and let's talk about the second movie in the Indiana Jones franchise right now. Okay, so Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom. Now, the sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is a movie that I actually really enjoyed quite a lot. And yeah, it's a fun adventure movie. I'm all in on the Indiana Jones, man. I love that character. I thought it was done very, very well. It's a nice 80s movie. Now we move into the next one. Spielberg is back. He's directing again. Obviously, Harrison Ford is back as Indiana Jones. And now this one is, to me, not as strong as Raiders. I'm going to say it just straight. I prefer Raiders of the Lost Ark over this one. This one I did feel like was a bit weaker than the previous one. Obviously, again, we're not going to go into the effects or anything like that. I'm not going to talk about that because the time period that this was made, we didn't have the ability to do what we can do in these big blockbusters that we have now. You just can't do it. Not back then. So there are moments where the green screen is very evident. You can see it. There are editing choices here, especially on the bridge sequence, where it cuts away to the crocodiles down there. Obviously, it's not like, you can't make it as realistic back then. But so there's those little things like that I'm not going to comment on because of the period of the time. I'm going to talk strictly about the movie, the plot, the characters, and all that. Now, when it comes to this one, I felt like this one just, it has its good moments and it has its flaw moments as well. One of the things that I did really enjoy a lot in this one is the incorporation of the horror elements in here. So while this is still an adventure story and an adventure movie, that whole sequence at the end in the final act with the sacrificing of people, with the pit of lava, there's so many things here that had little horror elements in it that made it feel different and unique compared to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Because Raiders of the Lost Ark feels very much like an action-adventure thriller. Like, it just does. It's a brilliant, fun ride, where this one more dove into more lore-based around the object that we're trying to obtain here. And it didn't feel like it was Indy going to look for something like he did in Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he's looking for the Ark. He's actually actively searching for that. In here, he gets, at the start, we see him there trying to get this diamond. This poison gets in there. This is where we meet the love interest for the movie as well in there. And this is where we meet Shorty as well. And Shorty is he's one of the funnest things about this movie that I absolutely loved as well. So we'll talk about that. But you have that whole instance there. And then obviously the plane instance where it's running out of fuel. There's no pilots in that. So they crash in India. And this is where he gets led to go to Bangkok not Bangkok. Bangkok's in Thailand. What am I saying there? He's going to this other place in India. He wanted to go to Delhi, but he's not going there. So he's got to go to somewhere else, and he's got to do this mission sort of thing to help these people. So it doesn't really feel like Indy going out and searching for something. So that to me was a bit like, okay, you're taken away from what the first one was, but adding in these new elements made it feel unique. So, while I don't agree with it and don't like that aspect, but I do appreciate them going out and doing something different. Now, when it comes to the new characters, the love interest, I feel like, is a lot weaker in this movie than the previous one. The previous one, I felt like there was history between those characters. I felt like Indy was falling in love with her at times throughout the movie. In this one, it's very cheesy 80s. It really is that love interest. And she's very much like the damsel in distress most of the time in that. And, it didn't work. That chemistry and dynamic did not work at all. Shorty, on the other hand, though, man, he was so much fun, that kid. He was hilarious throughout the whole entire movie. I really enjoyed his dynamic with Indy. That to me was one of my favorite parts, was their dynamic and just how Indy took him under his wing and showed him the ropes and how he was there. It felt wholesome. It felt real. The chemistry was there. And it was really, really fun. And I really enjoyed the performance as well. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Obviously, Harrison Ford is just fantastic as Indiana Jones in this movie as well. I really enjoy that character. It's fun. It's quirky. Obviously, it's 80s, so, you're going to have those cheesy 80s moments. And I love the callback to the previous movie as well with the whole swords, where the guy comes in with a sword and Indy pulls out the gun and shoots him. In this movie, he loses his gun, and then he goes to do that move again and realizes, oh crap, I don't have it. So I really appreciate the callback to that as well. Now, the villains of here, very surface level. They're not really that deep or anything like that. I much prefer the Nazis in the well, man, I never thought I'd say that sentence. Did anyone ever think you'd say that sentence? Wow, okay. Well, might get cancelled for that one, hey? But I prefer the villains in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I feel like there was more to them than this one. I felt like there was more of a sense of purpose there, where this one I didn't feel like they were that oh, okay, this Indy needs to stop these guys now because this could be the end of the world or anything like that. And if this gets into their hands, it's game over. I didn't feel like that here. And it didn't. It was very contained, this story. This was very much contained in its own sort of area. It didn't have any ramifications outside of that area. So the stakes weren't as high. Now, when it comes to the action, I prefer the action in the previous movie than this one, to be fair. This one has obviously the 80s action that we come to love when you're watching these 80s movies. It's obviously the powers and all that. It's not as clean and crisp as say a John Wick or the Raid or anything like that. But overall, the action in here, I don't mind it. I just don't think it's as strong as the previous one. And it just... The best action sequence in this movie is actually when they're in the mines itself and they're on the thing and they're going through the mines in the carts. That to me felt like the most thrilling moment in the action sequence in that. Obviously, we didn't have as many chase sequences as the previous one. Like Raiders of the Lost Ark, there's multiple chase sequences that I really enjoyed as well with the cars and everything like that. This didn't really have that. So while that is a downer for me as well, there are some things that I did like about the action as well. So you have all that going on. But overall, I really do like Raiders of the Lost Ark better. I don't think this is a bad movie or anything. This is a good movie. There are pacing issues in this one. I definitely believe that. I feel like this one's a bit longer than it needed to be. But overall, look, if I was to compare both of them, obviously Raiders would be first. This one would be second at the moment. So, but overall, so far out of the two together, it's been very, very solid. And I'm still very intrigued to watch the third one. I'm still excited to see it. I still love this character of Indiana Jones. I just don't think this one was as strong. But look, there's a lot of sequels that don't live up to the original. There are a lot of them out there. And then the third one comes out, and the third one just knocks it out of the park and becomes the best somehow. We've seen it. John Wick 2 isn't as strong as John Wick 1 in my opinion. What else is there? For some people, Spider-Man 2 is better than the first Spider-Man. I think the first Spider-Man is better than Spider-Man 2. Obviously, we have the Thor movies. You have those movies as well. You have the Iron Man movies. There's so many movies out there. Like Jurassic Park instance as well. Jaws. There are so many out there that the sequel doesn't always be better than that. But what it did well is it does feel like Indiana Jones, but it feels unique at the same time. And that I really appreciate. So let me know what you guys think of the Temple of Doom. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you like it more than Raiders? Let me know down in the comment section below. Smash that like button, click subscribe. I'll see you guys next video. Until then, stay safe and peace out.